What we know is that this is a busy, growing, thriving city. And like the rest of Queensland, we want to make sure that everybody benefits from the opportunities that are before us. That means we need to not only think about how to harness a growing economy, we need to think about how to ensure that we look after some of the most vulnerable and most at-risk people. I think everybody understands that adolescence and the teenage years can be very tough ones for some young people. And unfortunately, some young people during their teenage years can go off the rails a bit. That's why we've invested in a youth at-risk initiative that is seeing our non-government agencies across Queensland work intensively with young people who are at risk of becoming offenders or at risk of ending up in our juvenile justice system. These programs are working, and that's why I'm pleased to announce that a newly elected Labor government will not only continue to invest $13 million into the 42 services, we will increase that funding by $2 million. So a new Labor government will have a $15 million investment in our Youth at Risk initiative that is seeing young people stay on the right path. I think everyone knows that the teenage years can be tough for some kids. They often don't have the family support they need, or they've had particular disadvantages in life. We don't want to see them go off the rails and end up as offenders. These programs are changing the lives of young people, and that's why we want to keep investing in them and grow that investment. A $15 million investment in youth at-risk programs is the largest this program has ever seen in Queensland's history. These programs are delivered on the ground in towns and cities across Queensland. Here in Townsville, it's delivered by Lifeline North Queensland, and we know that they're getting good results. Seeing young people who might have dropped out of school, might have had some early trouble, getting back into school, back into a trade, and getting their lives on the right path. Labor does believe in being tough on crime, but we also believe in being tough on the causes of crime. And that means helping young people before they become offenders, getting their lives on the right path and making sure that they become contributing citizens long before they get into the sort of trouble that might see them end up as offenders. We believe that young people, if they are supported, if they're given the best opportunities, even if they make a couple of mistakes, can be put back on the right path. We've seen it happen time and again. We've seen non-government agencies like Lifeline here in North Queensland help young people turn their lives around. A newly elected Labor government will invest $15 million in these programs over the next 3 years. That's a $2 million increase. It'll be one of the largest increases in these programs in their history.
Premier, what was the results of the trial you did of this program on the Gold Coast?
We've seen the Youth at Risk program in all parts of the state have very high levels of success. Troubled teenagers are not an easy group to work with, and of course not every single one of the interventions are successful. But we've seen these programs have a higher success rate than others of their kind because they're very intensive, they work one-on-one, and we are seeing young lives turned around. That's why we want to continue and grow the investment.
Premier, Campbell Newman's plan to force GOCs to clean up their graffiti within 7 days. Did that pass on costs to consumers?
Everyone wants to see graffiti cleaned up as quickly as possible, but I don't think any of us want to see that add to our electricity bills. Government-owned electricity corporations should be playing a role, and they do. They have our GOCs in the electricity sector already have arrangements with their councils to clean up graffiti as quickly as they can. But if you put an artificial deadline on it, you run the risk that you will lift the cost of electricity bills, and that's not good for anyone.
Plan C, does that come from Labor?
I think everybody knows the journalist involved in this story, and anybody who would suggest that he's anything other than, I think, a very honourable, decent journalist who really checks his stories before he runs them, certainly hasn't been watching Daryl Giles very much for a long time. I know Daryl Giles as a journalist. I know that he's someone who really checks his facts. So let me tell you, the plan for Plan C definitely has come from the Liberal National Party. I hadn't heard about Plan C in the Liberal National Party till I read about it in this newspaper this morning. What it tells us is that there are people in the Liberal National Party who don't believe that Campbell Newman will win the seat of Ashgrove. If he does not win Ashgrove and they win enough seats to form a government, who will be Premier? He's been asked this question now over and over and over again, and he will not be honest with Queenslanders. What we've seen today is the Liberal National Party starting to leak about their secret plans. 6 possible seats where Campbell Newman, having barged his way into Ashgrove, may well barge his way into another seat that he doesn't live in.
Premier, he also wrote the story saying you're actually going to begin the campaign probably next Tuesday, so we can only assume he's right on that one too.
I spoke to Daryl Giles yesterday and I told him that, of course, we will have to redouble our efforts after the distractions that we've seen from Canberra this week. I've kept campaigning throughout all of the federal leadership issues and I intend to keep doing so. But once it's behind us, you can expect to see me redouble my efforts because it has increased my determination not only to be out talking to Queenslanders about what Labor stands for, but to be putting Campbell Newman under the spotlight. I know that a lot of people have already been watching both candidates, but they haven't had all the opportunity that they would have had without the federal leadership issues. After that's behind us, I intend to be redoubling my efforts.
So you can confirm that you have shelved some announcements or plans that you were going to roll out this week for next week when the focus is back on you, or have you run exactly according to plan?
What you've seen from me this week has been running a campaign every day right across Queensland, making announcements as planned. But am I going to redouble my efforts after the federal leadership? You bet.
Premier, there's increasing speculation Ron Clark will quit tomorrow and run in Broadwater, but he actually will now. What do you say to that?
What the people of Broadwater know is that Peter K. Croft has been a strong, stable voice for them. We've seen the Liberal National Party now with 3 candidates in Broadwater in a matter of months. We now have the retiring mayor throwing his hat in the ring. People who want a strong, stable voice in Broadwater should stick with Peter K. Croft.
He would probably take the Labor government to task over the water schmozzle on the Gold Coast. How would you defend that?
I think people on the Gold Coast know that under the leadership of the Gold Coast City Council, we saw water prices go up. We saw the Gold Coast City Council completely walk away from their responsibility to manage water prices. What the government did was give the Gold Coast City Council the opportunity to manage water prices. They completely failed in that regard and we had to step in. I think people on the Gold Coast know where the problem with the water issue on the Gold Coast
Didn't you create the mess anyway by taking over the dam?
What you saw was us create exactly what the South East Queensland Council of Mayors under Campbell Newman's leadership and with the support of Ron Clark, exactly what they asked us to do in writing. Set up water bodies that would cover more than one council area.